here in the Cellar Pub at Mohawk College, and I have to say I'm very excited about this one. I have always been absolutely fascinated with the history of this area. I'm talking about Century Manor across the street, the Insane Asylum that used to be on these lands, and to actually be able to go into a building that is directly connected to that history, oh, it's going to be amazing. And then coming in and talking to the witnesses, hearing about what they experienced with the woman in the white, in the same alcove where the nickel fell, the shadow blocking out the light here in the Arnie, and even something affecting the laptops. All amazing stories. We're going to bring in our investigators Ian and Trudy, and of course our psychic Kate Kingston, to read the energy of the space. So let's get started. It's all happening tonight. My name is Daniel. I've been in the world of ghosts for almost 20 years, starting in 1999 when I helped create the city's most known paranormal group. That was the past, which exposed my true love, telling real ghost stories to the tours of the ghost walks and everyday people like you. These experiences told in a raw and personal way, just your true ghost stories.
Well, when it was built, it was the second of the two Gothic architectural buildings. A known fact at that time that people could or should be admitted right from the community. Now, originally this building was called East House because it was located east of the original building. Initially, it was patients with a whole range of psychiatric disorders, right from fairly mild disorders like depression right through to schizophrenia, one of the more serious psychotic illnesses. Well, around the early 60s, psychiatric wards were starting to be established in general hospitals. So this setting became then the chronic care hospital. And not only was it serving Hamilton, it was serving an 8-county area. Unfortunately, it was misunderstood by some people that it was a lifetime commitment. Once in the psych hospital, never out again. That certainly wasn't the intention, but it was a long stay.
I steered the conversation over to the Cellar Pub across the street. I knew it was connected to the asylum, but I wanted more information.
That was the root cellar for this property. This was a self-sustaining, self-contained property wherein they grew all of the vegetables that they needed in order to feed the patients. Patients all participated as well, but there was staff. In fact, across the road at a farmhouse, that was the home of the head gardener. So he was responsible for all the gardeners and was a full fleet of farmers because basically it was a farming community. Our efforts to save Century Manor goes to back to 1997 when we established a committee called the Century Manor Task Force. Our goal at that time was to get the building designated, naively assuming that designation would guarantee its protection. Sad to say, it might not do that because, as you can see, the building is in bad state of repairs. We were so naive, as I said, that we thought once it got designated, our work was finished, only to find that that wasn't the case. And so we reestablished the Century Manor Task Force 2, hoping that whatever the province decides to do with the building, as you know, it maybe is quite close to being sold, and hopefully the city of Hamilton has purchased it. And if that's the case, then we will direct our energies to the city of Hamilton to make sure that the building is restored.
I'm so happy to see the efforts of people like Pat Saunders and other great Hamiltonians who are trying to save our history. So I highly recommend go look at Save Century Manor and show your support. Next up, I'm inside the pub with Allie and Zach. Well, thanks so much, guys, for speaking with me. First off, I'd just like to know your history here. Allie, when did you start here?
I started at the very beginning of December.
Did you know you were coming into?
I had no idea. I didn't know anything about the space. I just thought it was like really cool.
Really cool and looked interesting?
Yeah, it was
And then you asked?
Yeah, and then I asked why like it had the coves, and they slowly started explaining it to me, and I got a little creepier down here.
So after you found out, did you wish that you didn't know?
Probably, yeah.
Now, Zach, how about you? How long have you been here?
Originally, I was a student here first, so I've been here probably 5 years.
Always working in this area?
Always working in the student center, yeah.
And that includes the cellar?
Includes the cellar from time to time, yeah.
Now, when did you find about the history of this space?
Pretty soon after I started. I remember coming in here as a student employee and being, wow, look at this space. And that's when they told me, this is connected to the Insane Asylum across the street. So
Now, I'm very curious, when they talk about it, is that all they say? It's just connected to the Insane Asylum, or do they give any type of details about it?
basically all I've heard is that was a storage cellar for the Insane Asylum across the street.
Yeah, I heard the same thing. So that's why I thought it was called the cellar.
You just know it has a certain history to it and a certain energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
you guys have had experiences down here.
Yeah.
Allie, you were telling me a little bit earlier about what seems to be like a resident ghost.
Yeah, I was standing over by our bar area turning all the lights off, and out of the corner of my eye I saw looked like a woman walk across the cove, and then I turned to look at the hallway which was in front of me, and I saw the same woman come across. So.
Okay, that's a little bit freaky.
Yeah.
So coming out of the cove, now it's a little like where we're sitting right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and just kind of walked out from nowhere?
Yeah, from nowhere went into another cove, and I knew I was the only person in here because I was closing up after an event.
Now, did you get any details about her? Like what she looked like, what she was wearing?
It looked like she was wearing white, and she had really long dark hair.
Dark hair. Was she tall, short?
Pretty tall.
Tall, like how tall would you think? Just a guess.
Taller than me.
Okay, all right, that's good enough. Now, as well, I think some security guards have had some experiences too.
Yeah, I was telling one of my coworkers about it, and one of the security guards overheard and thought we were pranking him. And I was like, no, I'm just talking about one of my stories. And 2 years ago, the exact same thing has happened to him, and he described the same type of woman too.
Saw the woman in white.
Yeah, coming out of a cove too.
Do you know if it's the same cove?
I'm pretty sure it was the exact same cove.
Same cove.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting too because it kind of connects to something that you were talking about, Zach. Tell me about that fateful night at Halloween.
Yeah, we were setting up, we were turning the cellar into a haunted house, ironically. And me and a coworker were working. We were the only ones in here. We were here during the day, hanging bats and ghosts and all kinds of stuff. And out of nowhere, we just heard this metallic, slam kind of on the ground. And the coworker, she was kind of frightened. And when I came to check her cove where she was setting some stuff up, there was just a nickel sitting there, just on the ground, like it came out of a cove wall. No one knows where it came from.
It didn't help that you were setting up like really spooky, scary stuff at the same time.
On top of it, we had Freddy Krueger across the hall setting up in a cove, so it was kind of neat.
Now, when the hit the floor, did it sound like a nickel hitting the floor, or was it sounds like something different?
It sounded metallic, like something metallic hitting, and we both heard it right away. So.
Yeah, because when I first heard the experience, I'm thinking the sound of a nickel hitting the floor would be very, very light. It wouldn't be very loud. So for you guys to hear it,
yeah.
Do you think it might have been unnaturally loud?
It might have been louder, or if anything, it might have hit square,
square,
flat down.
Like maybe somebody
threw
whipped it.
Yeah.
Whipped it down.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, so that's the same alcove as the experiences with the lady in white.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting connection.
It's always when you're looking towards the Arnie venue from through the cellar. It seems to be that direction. There seems to be activity.
Yeah, I think later on this evening we're actually going to make you relive these spooky memories. And we're going to have you walk around with our psychic Kate. But before that, there was another experience. Didn't happen in the cellar area, but when you have these types of energies, you never know where they're going to manifest. Talk a little bit about that shadow.
Yeah, so we were just closing up an event. I think there was just me, the catering manager, and our DJ that we had hired for that night. And we were both sitting at the cellar bar and looking over to the Arnie venue. We saw in front of the beer fridges in our main venue a black mass from right to left just kind of block out the front of the beer fridges.
You said mass, as in M-A-S-S?
M-A-S-S, as in it was like a circular kind of shape, but it was
blocking
black.
out the light.
Yeah, so you could see underneath, you could see above, and it happened twice.
How fast did it go by?
It was pretty, I don't know.
Like somebody running?
No, I wouldn't say running. It was like a walk by. It's kind of neat.
Now, did you run over and have a look and see?
Well, right away I said, hey, did anyone see that? And they were like, no, but don't tell me about it, because they didn't want to know. And then a couple minutes later we looked and saw. We went through the venue again, and there obviously the event was over. There was nobody, and then there was 3 of us. So there's nobody in that room.
Now, it's so interesting that it's almost like this energy seems to follow you, because you had experiences outside the space, but you also had an experience in the offices on the second level, right?
Yeah, so the marketing office where Ali and I both work is upstairs, kind of connected to the Arnie. It's connected to by the same wall. And I remember one morning, the laptop, which is just a spare laptop we use for events, for bingo, whatever. It's just sitting there across from my desk. It's never used, maybe a couple times a year, and it just started playing jazz music. And I could not figure out where it was. I thought maybe someone forgot their cell phone in my office. I'm looking for a cell phone. No, it was the laptop, and it just got louder and louder and louder. And it was just like classical jazz music playing to the point where it was like screaming out of the laptop, and it's closed. So I picked the laptop up, and I'm carrying it, and the only other person in the office that day was our marketing coordinator. And I remember bringing him the laptop, and just as I said, "Do you hear this?" he said, "Yup," and it stopped.
Now, you said you actually logged into the computer, correct?
Yeah, when I opened the laptop up, it had the Windows like unlock screen, so signed in, nothing open.
No sound
No
program,
programs,
no
nothing.
online radio, no
Nothing.
browser, nothing was open.
Nothing.
And
And the
is-
last time that laptop has been touched, probably like 3 months before.
And you have no idea what type of, like, it wasn't Louis Armstrong or anything
I
like
had
that.
no clue. It was like old-timey jazz. There was no lyrics. It was just instrumental. So
Yeah, no, I always ask the detailed questions because any little bit of evidence that you get can tell you about the energy. It in a lot of ways, it's trying to communicate. And I don't know, you guys ever seen the movie Christine? Based on the Stephen King novel where the car talks to the lyrics and the songs on the radio.
Yeah.
There's a way of communicating through that, so that kind of stuff happens. It's good to know the song, but
yeah.
that's the reason why we're bringing in Kate.
Yeah, exactly.
As I'm very excited about our investigation tonight and what we're going to find out, but thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.